Hi everyone, good evening. It's myself and my son here tonight. We're gonna jump into a little bit of a study here. Say hi. Hi, Emmanuel.
Hi.
They can't hear you.
Hi.
Say hi, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Ask how they're doing.
How are you guys doing?
They can't answer you anyway. But I'm sure everyone is doing well. I pray that everyone had a blessed day. And I just wanted to share this study that Emmanuel and I are going through, or that we went through. And I actually wasn't looking for this, but we saw this here in verse 13, John 8, 13, right here where it says, "The Pharisees therefore said unto him, Thou bearest record of yourself, your record is not true." Now, I want to go back. Let's start from the beginning of the chapter. I don't want to just start right there, but I want to go to the beginning. And then I'll explain once we get back over there. All right. So it says, "YAHUSHA went unto the Mount of Olives, and early in the morning he came again into the temple, and all the people came unto him, and he sat down and taught them. And the scribes and the Pharisees brought unto him a woman taken in adultery. Okay. And when they had set her in the midst, they say unto him, Master." Interesting. The scribes and the Pharisees called YAHUSHA Master. Someone they didn't believe in, right? Well, let's continue. They say this woman was taken in adultery in the very act. So these Pharisees and scribes, they caught a woman physically in the act of adultery, which would mean there was another person with her. But notice how they only brought the woman and not the man. Okay? So, sorry about that. My daughter just dropped the broom. But notice how they brought the woman and not the man. All right? That's interesting. Something to take note of. All right? And now look at what they say in verse 5. "Now Moses and the law commanded us that such should be stoned, but what do you say?" Now, they called him Master. And then they're talking to him about the law of Moses, the Mosaic law. But they knew that YAHUSHA didn't follow Moses' law. They knew that. Otherwise, they wouldn't ask him this question. Okay? We have to take note of that. And then he's like, "What do you say?" All right? So now the master is going to tell them exactly how to handle this, which is contradictory to the law of Moses. We have to pay attention to that, right? So in verse 6, they said, tempting him, all right, that they might have something to accuse him of. But YAHUSHA stooped down, and with his finger they wrote on the ground as though he did not hear them. So when they continue asking him, all right, so they asked him more than once, instead of them obeying the law of Moses, they went to the master, our master. Interesting. So they continue asking him. He lifted himself up and said unto them, "He that is without sin among you, let him first cast a stone at her," or let him cast the first stone. All right, very interesting. Let he without sin, anyone who has no sin whatsoever, you throw the first stone at this woman. Even though the law of Moses said anyone caught in the act of adultery must be stoned to death, the male and the female. So here we see a clear indicator that not only was YAHUSHA not obedient to the law of Moses, but so were the scribes and the Pharisees who wanted to accuse him of not being obedient to the law of Moses. All right? It's all right here in the text. I'm not making it up. Okay? That's why it's important for us to read the scriptures and pay attention and make sure we're not repeating things that are not true. Because a lot of times, and I know I'm guilty. I've said it many times that the Messiah was perfect at keeping the law of Moses. But here we see he didn't, and that's why he was questioned. He didn't stone the woman. All right, and we're going to see what happens later, and then I'm going to talk about why verse 13 jumped out at me. All right, but verse 8, it says, "And again he stooped down and wrote on the ground." It says, "And they which heard it," okay, those who were listening to when the Messiah said, "Let he without sin cast the first stone." Okay, that's key again. I forgot to touch on this, but many people are out there condemning people for the sins that we struggle with. Okay, many people out there, they don't realize that they behave like modern day Pharisees. Okay, how dare we condemn someone for their sin and not want to fellowship with someone, and it probably isn't sin. It's just something that they perceive to be sin because it doesn't line up with their own understanding. Okay, that they don't approve of it, so they call it sin. And many people are calling things sin that don't line up with the law of Moses, when they don't really even understand what the law of Moses was about. And not only that, Yahusha is higher than Moses. Okay, and this is why the Messiah told his people, he's like, if your righteousness does not exceed that of the Pharisees, you shall by no means inherit the kingdom of Yahuwah. And so many people have the same righteousness as the Pharisees, and they walk around condemning people for things that they determine to be sin, not realizing that they are trapped in sin themselves, and they are teaching their family to sin against the Most High, and they will not inherit the kingdom. So I beg you, please, do not live your life like that. I don't want to do it, and I don't want you to do it. And if you see anyone do it, try your best to help them come out of that, because if they don't, there's going to be trouble for them and their families if they're following. Okay? Please, it's right here in the scriptures. Please understand it. But let's continue. Okay, and it says, and they which heard it, being convicted by their own conscience. So these people were convicted by this. So they didn't obey the law of Moses because they were convicted by Yahusha's words. Like, it's clear. Like, let's pay attention here. All right, and he says, they went out one by one, beginning with the oldest, even unto the last, and Yahusha was left alone, and the woman standing in the midst. And it says here, when Yahusha had lifted up himself and saw that no one but the woman was there, he said unto her, Woman, where are those thine accusers? Hath no man condemned you? All right. She said, No man, Adonai. And Yahusha said unto her, Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more. Look at that. Okay. These Pharisees, these scribes, these people who were allegedly keepers of the law of Moses, who did not have a loving heart, but they always wanted to hurt and condemn someone and then claim that they loved Yahuwah. Okay, but look at this. All right, they did not kill this woman according to the law of Moses. She lived. All right, so they were trying to accuse and blame Yahusha for not keeping the law of Moses when they were not keepers of that law either. And neither were they required, with him being the new high priest, which we can read about in Hebrews. We have to read the entire book of Hebrews to understand when there's a new high priest, there is a changing of the law. It is a requirement. And that is why Yahusha didn't have to obey that law of Moses, because he was higher than Moses. Okay? All of the answers are in Scripture. We just need to read the Bible correctly. All right. So the Messiah says he does not condemn her according to the law of Moses. He tells her to go and sin no more. And then spoke Yahusha again unto them, saying, I am the light of the world, and he that follows me shall not walk in darkness, but shall have the light of life. Now this is deep right here. Okay, and it ties into like new moon, and it's a long study. All right, but I'm not going to start that now because I only have another minute and 11 seconds left. All right, but now verse 13. The Pharisees therefore said unto him, You bear record of yourself. Your record is not true. Okay? Wow, look at this. Now, this kind of ties into what we've been studying lately when it comes to Paul being a false apostle. And one of the things that people are saying is that Paul doesn't have any witnesses. Right? Everybody else has witnesses except for Paul. That's what the people are saying today. So these Pharisees of today are speaking and saying Paul has no witnesses. But now look at these Pharisees of yesterday. Okay? Look at what they're saying to our Messiah. In verse 13, it's as clear as day. The Pharisees therefore said unto him, You bear record of yourself, and your record is not true. What they're saying is Yahusha had no witnesses. Okay? Now this is interesting, and this one is deep. But I have to stop. I only have 15 seconds. And I wasn't planning to do a part 2 on this one, but I want to finish the chapter. So Yahuwah willing, I can finish this up tonight, and we can talk again soon.